back, folks. We got the S&Ps up by 24 points right now. NASDAQ 100 up by 136. And as we're going to do, as we do each Monday at 3:15, folks, we're going to talk to our man Steve Rhodes. Folks, if you haven't checked out Mastering Probability, hit that newsletter tab on the front page of TFNN. You can try out Steve's outstanding newsletter. You get some awesome webinars in there when you sign up, folks. You get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Check it out. Some great work from Steve, and look forward to seeing what we got going on. Steve Rhodes, good afternoon.
Hey, Tommy, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How's your week starting off?
Well, except for the, we've moved clearly into summertime weather over here. We've had a couple of super soakers. There was one that just went through a few minutes ago, so I'm glad that kind of has ceased because the internet can kind of get a little unstable when we get those big storms. But other than that, I'm looking forward to hockey resuming again on Wednesday night. I know, our team down here beat your team over there. I'm good either way with whichever Florida team is in it. Just glad that we've got the Panthers in it against Edmonton. And, for those folks out there that maybe don't, watch hockey or what have you, I just suggest that you tune in to hear the national anthem. First game's going to be in Edmonton, and so you'll hear both the U.S. and the Canadian national anthem, and Edmonton really knows how to do it. It's just inspirational for everybody, quite frankly. So that's going to be Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to that. And,
I love it. I learned something already, Steve. I got to love it. I'm serious. Wednesday. And folks, if you haven't watched, how about it? I used to hear you talk to my dad, of course, Steve, and it'd be playoff hockey, right? Boy, there is nothing like playoff. You haven't seen hockey, folks, until these guys turn it on in the playoffs. It is playoffs, but man, remarkable.
Yeah, totally. And we have your dad to thank for this. I know there's only one person that could have pulled off this deal, which was getting Brad Marchand to move from Boston over here. Okay,
Crazy,
I hated
right?
him. Right, I hated playing against him because he's so good. Maybe a little tough, but he's a small guy. Reminds me a lot of like your dad, how your dad might play hockey. And
I love it.
But having him as an addition to the Florida team has just been miraculous. I don't know how these teams hold all these guys together. Cap-wise and so forth. But
Seriously.
it sure is fun. We're going to see really probably the two best teams anyways in the NHL playing in the playoffs. And I hope it goes to Game 7.
You got me excited now, man. You got me all jazzed up about it, and I was anyway. And hey, and the Bruins, now they get a first-round pick on top of it, man, because the Panthers did so well. So kudos at all, right? They do so well that we end up getting a first-rounder, which, for Marchand. So, boy, we got quite a market going on, Steve. What do you think, man?
Well, so you were talking about gold equities. Let me talk about just gold itself and show folks what's going on here. So this is a monthly time frame chart. Some of the tools that I use, this got all the tools that I use to help identify tops and bottoms. One of those tools is referred to as the TD9 count. And the TD9 count requires it requires each close of each bar on a way to move up, that the close of the current bar has to be above the close of the bar 4 bars earlier. So it's a great tool, and it's kind of like this is how the stock market runs a 100-yard dash. And I don't know if you were a runner in school or what have you, but even when you watch, the professionals after the 100-yard dash, some of them, after that 100 yards, they're hitting the deck because they've used up all that energy. And that's in essence what this pattern is like. Well, on a monthly time frame, I've got a couple of blue arrows. One takes us back to the 2011 top. That was a TD9 count pattern that formed that high. Back in the 2020-21 time frame, another blue arrow, that was a TD9 count top. But we had another one that formed out here in April. So not until that high gets taken out, and that high will be 35.39.30. That's from the August contract. So that's what I want everybody to really be paying attention to. Like you say, maybe we get $100 today, maybe it's $100 tomorrow. We could be up to the 35.39 level in just a heartbeat. Now, if you look at the bottom panel of this chart, identifies consecutive higher closes. Those would be black digits, and consecutive lower closes. Those would be red digits. Now, in the month of May, we closed just slightly below the close from April. So that gives us that one digit, if you will, to the downside. Typically, in bull markets, the most bullish markets, you'll see either a 1 to 2 bar, what I refer to as a knee-jerk reaction. And if we take a look at really coming off of the if we come out, take a look at the lows back here in 2022 out there, you can see that every pullback has been no more than 2 consecutive moves to the downside. Well, the question is, was last month just and today, right? It's the first day of June. Are we going to move lower and have a 2-bar move to the downside? And I would suggest that if we start trading above the May high out there, my answer to that question is probably not. When you can trade above a prior day's high, a prior month's high, a prior year's high, those are bullish signals. Now, you have to be able to identify whether there's a top or a bottom pattern out here, and that requires, in this case here for the monthly chart, for gold to get above that 35-39 level out there. But if it's only a 1-month move to the downside, that would be telling me that we've got a real significant rally unfolding, real significant, like the type that would take out these TD9 count patterns. So that was just a monthly chart. Here's a yearly chart. On a yearly chart, we can see we're well above last year's high. We're also in bar number 9. Now, the last time that gold made a significant high out here on a yearly basis, it was a TD9 count pattern. The TD9 count pattern, Tommy, the high or low, in this case here we're talking about highs, has to occur on bars 8, bar 9, or the bar following bar number 9. So it may not be really until next year that we get that significant high out there, especially if we see the monthly chart negate its TD9 count pattern. Turns out that the weekly chart, now I've got the August contract, so the two charts on the left-hand side are the continuous contract. That's the only way for me to get enough data to be able to show where we're really at in the TD9 count sequence. The next 2 charts, Tommy, you got the weekly for August and the daily for August. The weekly for August has a TD9 count top. So just like the monthly time frame chart, if price closes above that 35-39 level, that pattern gets negated. So it's really an important chart to watch. By the way, August contract has resistance inside of gold at about the 34.19 level. So if we close, well, this snapshot was taken maybe about an hour or so ago. I don't know exactly what we're trading the August contract, but any weekly close above 34.18 is going to suggest to me that we go for its all-time highs out there. And on a daily basis, if we get a close today above 33.95.30, we generate a small A to B equals CD pattern that takes us back to the all-time high. Any questions about what I've shared so far, or any of the information on these charts here?
No, I love it, man. I love how exact you are with all these levels. I know that's how you deliver for your newsletter subscribers, but I love it. Gold's having quite, this is, and boy, those longer term charts, those TD9 counts, I'm watching. Yeah.
And I've been suggesting caution to everybody out there because of the way that things had lined up, and we did see a little bit of a pullback, but nothing of real significance out here. Another thing that I like to do, Tommy, is to take a look at how gold is moving in all major currencies. Is this just a depreciation of a dollar, so to speak, right? The dollar moving lower. Is this just that offset, in that conversion, or is this more real? So what I put on here is you'll see some trend lines. The charts that don't have the trend lines, the only reason they're not on there is because they haven't really broken through a trend, if you will. But if we take a look at the U.S. dollar, that's in the upper left-hand chart, you'll see it's broken through a trend line, at least as of an hour ago. Same thing in terms of euros, same things in terms of Chinese yuan, same thing in terms of Aussie dollars. We're moving high in all these currencies. We're also moving high in all of the Middle Eastern currencies out there. This rally is really, and if you take a look at what's going on over in the Middle East, we're breaking all kinds of descending trend line levels out there. So it looks like gold to me wants to continue to rally.
I love those currencies, man.
At least test those highs. Yeah.
I love it. I remember when you were doing that during the days when, everything, gold was at all-time highs in almost every other currency. I remember it, man.
That's right.
Great stuff, Steve.
Right.
Thank you for the information, man. We look forward to the program tomorrow. Have a great one.